Greetings and welcome back to yet another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing a very special daily, so it's yet another special daily, so that's 2 in a row, and today we're playing as the Lost, which is kind of surprise, not really something you see every day, and what's even worse is that we don't have either the Holy Mantle or the D4, and in a sense I really like that, because that means that there are no ways to kind of cheese the game to get lucky, to get those respawn items that then of course allow you to just be a very strong character, but all you have to rely on is all the things that other people get. So I think more so than any other day that this daily really exemplifies decision making and just kind of your dodging skill, because you do have those 10 buffers of lives that you can get hit, so in total we can get hit 10 times throughout this run, unless of course we have found some other items that help us to get hit more. But as it stands now, we're all on very equal footing, there are no shenanigans to be done, just go through the rooms, play well, and try to not get hit, try to make good decisions, kind of take advantage of some mechanics of the game to hopefully put you in a better position. And I really feel like today's daily was a good example of that, and even just how the rooms were kind of projected. There were no super difficult rooms that you couldn't dodge, and there were no super difficult bosses in tiny rooms that are usually... I just felt like this was one of those very, very rewarding runs in the sense, but that's just maybe because I did well on it, and I'm a bit biased. Obviously someone might not feel the same, but I feel like the rooms in general were very nice. I never felt, at least early on, too strong or too weak, and it felt like just the right amount of challenge, and maybe that's just because I'm kind of jaded because I played so much Isaac and how things go, so kind of anything different just spikes my excitement up a bit, and I think it's noticeable as well just by how I play and how I talk. But yeah, thankfully the first floor here wasn't too difficult at all. It had some silly rooms, and because it's the burning basements, it could have a lot of difficult things in it, but thankfully it didn't. And our first boss is Larry Jr., which I'm sort of happy to see. This variant is just a bit more annoying because it does have that charging guy who splits into more enemies, and that's not nice, but still, because we do have those poison bombs, we can utilize them to some effect here and kill the Larry Jr. at least quite early. And after he splits, it's not too big of an issue to deal with whenever he spawns. So I was debating here, do I take this safety pin? Because I mean, usually you pick up safety pin because it gives you a black card, but in this case, there are a few items that I take that I usually wouldn't, like Ghost Baby, and even safety pin, like I said, it just gives you a range up, and it just gives you an evil up, but remember, we are the Lost, without the Holy Mantle and the D4, so we have no shenanigans to be done. We just have to take every advantage we can get. So if that's a range up, or if that's just an evil up, so it gives us a chance to have more damage if you have certain trinkets, I think that's something, an opportunity we have to make at this point, because we have no idea how well this run will go. Thankfully we get Infamy, is just maybe an extra layer of protection. I think on this run in total it takes 2 or 3 times. I played actually rather well, at least early on. I didn't get hit at all. And thankfully the RNG gods are still with us because we're fighting Monstro, and with these drugs we can actually kind of utilize them so he can hit us while kind of still dealing damage to him. So so far, you know, we're facing some very standard, well-designed bosses. No any small rooms shenanigans. Like, imagine if this was a small room with 2 monsters in it, I think we would have a very, very bad time, especially with no bombs because I spent them all on the previous floor. Yeah, but at this point, we really need to take all advantages that we can. So what I do is take up Petrified Poop, kill all the poops, and I still have the Counterfeit Penny. And what I'll do is then collect it later, and go through and try to get those 50% chances to proc my Counterfeit Penny. So if you don't know, the trinket, the Counterfeit Penny, gives you a 50% chance to get an additional coin every time you pick up a penny. So essentially you're getting double the amount of points. Here I make quite a maybe risky decision, but not really, you know, because I have 9 lives. What I do is go inside, and then I kill myself on the edge of the spikes to kind of respawn outside, and I find that Yarrow rune inside, it actually plays a very big part, not too far away from now. So that was kind of a decision I made on part. I understand if maybe you don't want to do it, but it of course doesn't cost me any points, but I do lose 1 life. And I know maybe some people don't know that you can do this, and that's kind of fortunate, but I guess it's one of those mechanical skills or knowledge skills that you gain as you play the game and maybe browse the forums or whatever. But yeah, I think it was right, just because we have 9 lives, and I think using a few of them just to get some sort of advantage at the start is important if you want to succeed on this run. So that's why I did it. And because I did go through the counterfeit penny before, and I did go through that trouble to killing the poops first, and then picking up a counterfeit penny to get more coins, hopefully, I did end up to 21 cents, and what ends up happening, luckily, is we get blank card here. And as you might know, as I go on, in almost every single video I have, that blank card plus Sierra is a very strong combination. So at this point, we know that we're gonna have a lot of consumable points. So I kind of make a decision here. I know that I'm not fast enough to, well, maybe I would be fast enough if I was really determined to catch Boss Rush and Hush, but because it's 12 minutes on the 3rd floor, what I decide to do actually is just, I took a different route maybe than what I usually would. Usually I would try to make it to Boss Rush and Hush, and then I would start duplicating, getting a lot of coins. But at this one I just decided, no, it's a special daily, let's do maybe something a bit different. So what I do is actually, I just start duplicating now, and I hope to get a chest which contains an item. So usually these 4 chests, one of them usually contains an item. So what I did is I duplicated them, and when you touch one chest, you can see that if that chest contains an item. And so what ends up happening, if you duplicate a chest that contains an item, the duplicated chest will also contain an item. So, but you, of course, you don't want to open the chest and then realize it had an item and then you can duplicate it. So that's why you have to duplicate it first and then open at least one of them to see if it contains an item. So that's kind of what we're going for. So I'm really trying to break the game. Like I said, because I feel it fits a bit more in the spirit of the run, that we break the game, just because I think it's kind of funny that they give us this functional card to play with, and that we are able actually to get strong enough to break the run. So I hope that this happens, and we'll see if it happens. But at this point, we're not too terribly strong, even though we have this amazing combination and a lot of consumables. Our damage is not that good. I'm using bombs like crazy here, like I said, because we do have an infinite amount of them, basically. So I just drop them everywhere I can to kind of kill my enemies and bosses so much faster. And it helps a lot, even just having a resource of bombs here is a good thing. So thankfully here we do get a chest that contains an item, but sadly I can't duplicate it for the reason that I don't have batteries on this floor, and I can't duplicate batteries and then duplicate my chests. And even worse, it's a blind. It's Curse of the Blind, so we don't actually see what the items are, so that's of course no good. So we're still kind of forced to play on our normal turns without having any actual items. I do find some damage items here and there, like Odd Mushroom on this floor and the Pentagram on the previous floor, and that kind of gave us some sustainability, so we're not very weak, but certainly at this rate, if it just kept improving, we wouldn't be strong enough to deal with some of the later floors. And Mom's Week, of course, at this point is also a good thing to have, like very beneficial for us in the fact that we spawn spiders. And you can still see me some here and there use the trick to go inside, to sacrifice myself in the curse room to kind of spawn outside. And I do that a few more times, but at this point I feel like I've died a lot of times and I'm not really comfortable doing it enough. So I think that from this point on I don't go into the curse rooms anymore, but certainly at the start when we had a few hearts, and of course at this point I feel like we're strong enough that we don't have to take those risks, because at this point, like I said, I'm not really sure how many lives we have remaining, and I want to kind of risk it. So kind of funny thing happens. So I find a card, the mom's food card or whatever, and because it got super dark and because I changed my lighting settings on my monitor not too long ago, I just didn't see that spider. So I go back, I try to pick up the High Priestess again because it dealt half of life of damage to him, and I try to using it again, but what ends up happening is I toss the bomb down. I try to push it to him, and what I do is kind of block myself from dodging his Brimstone attack. So at this point I'm like, okay, you know what, no more joking, I'm just gonna get my revenge, I'm gonna go back, take a battery charge, and then I'll try to use my blank card with the High Priestess and then the High Priestess card itself, and theoretically that should kill him. At this point I'm just out for blood, really trying to get my revenge on the guy that killed me twice. And thankfully my strategic plan works and he ends up dying without too much of a hassle. And even better, we got the belt, and I think having some speed here is more important than me having a tears up from the goat hanger. Some unfortunate things happen here. He just does his second Brimstone attack a bit too fast, and because, like I said, I am kind of slow due to Small Rock and Fat Odd Mushroom, and just overall the fact that I'm bigger, I feel maybe more clunkier. and he manages to get me with that. So that was a bit unfortunate. But still, like I said, at this point, because I died quite a few times, I'm not willing to go into curse rooms anymore, so I don't do that. And then a savior appears from the sky, well, beside the blank art in Jera. I get the Holy Mantle. So at this point, I'm feeling pretty comfortable to say that this is a one run, especially now that we got an item from our stone chest. We know that good things are about to happen, because my plan here is so we know that the chest in the left corner contains an item, so our plan is to just duplicate that as many times as possible, get 1,000,000 items, not 1,000,000, but a lot of items, and then pick up the ones which are beneficial to us, and then of course just steamroll through the rest of the game. And because it's already 30 minutes and we didn't even make it to boss rush, we can forget about Hush. But like I said, I really focused more on just this game-breaking combo to hopefully get a lot of items here, and then I would just steamroll and maybe try to get a high score by just getting a lot of points in general, and not so much by getting both the main objectives. I think there was a way to kind of do both at the same time if you played your cards right, but just because I'm a bit of a slower player, maybe I need more time to start thinking tactically, I guess, or whatever. I just didn't do it. Like I said, I committed to this strategy quite a few floors ago. Maybe it's the right strategy, maybe it's not, but it's definitely the most fun. You'll see what happens as soon as I kind of finish duplicating my chest. So thankfully I do find the room with a lot of battery charges, so I can just go back and forth and start duplicating the items. And I go back for one more charge, even though it doesn't have any more space. What I plan to do is open a few chests, then pick up a few items, then go out and then kind of respawn and duplicate the ones I picked up. And of course, as we expect, because also the golden chest treasure pool, that's what I want to say, has a lot of good items and damage ups. I just end up taking a few of them. Like some of them, obviously, it's hard to navigate to choose which ones you want to take, but at this point it doesn't really matter. You know, we feel pretty safe with our decision here. But of course I'm just going for the maximum damage possible. So I take the double shot, I take the bouncing tears, I even take the mine, so we can see where the secret rooms are on the later floors. There's no real reason maybe to taking it, just because we have an infinite amount of bombs, but still. I take the sights, I take the proptosis, and I also take the tech point 5. And the monstrous lung I see there, I think I'll take that too. And just the proptosis and the fact that we have monstrous lung with all those damage ups give us the craziest tears, and you'll see them in action in just a second here. I'll lop up a few more chests just to see if something good comes of it. I know I just didn't even notice or pick up a few chests, but it doesn't really matter. You can see just how crazy things are. And it doesn't just look impressive, it also does a few very impressive things. We're at the point, because the items are sequential, we know the next 7 items or so are going to be zodiac signs, and they're not really the items I want, and at this point I really did take a lot of items, so I'm not kind of pushing my luck any forward, especially since I'm able to kill all the enemies in just half a second at most. And even most rooms, you'll see what ends up happening. I wish that we also got maybe some different items that would synergize well, but I'm pretty satisfied with how things turn out, at least now. So before we go forward, or I go forward, I also want to duplicate consumables to get to them as many as possible, and here I do just the standard consumable strategy to duplicate them, and this goes for a bit, but I'll explain what's happening. So we have this room that has a lot of battery charges, and we just find a room that only has a consumable we can always pick up. So that means you don't want a room that contains hearts, red hearts, or spirit hearts, because at some point you won't be able to pick them up anymore. So like this room, which only contains the coins, or maybe the keys, or the bombs, those would be okay. What you do is just duplicate them a few times until you see some of them starting to despawn, and as soon as that happens, as you see some of them disappearing as you're duplicating them, you know that you hit your consumable limit in the room, and at that point you just can't duplicate them anymore, or maybe you can duplicate them, but what ends up happening is if there are too many, some of them are just going to despawn. So what you do is duplicate them a few times, go in, and when you see them despawning, just start picking them up, then maybe duplicate them again, and just repeat that for as long as you see your score going up. So at some point when you pick up your coins, you'll see that your score is not going up anymore, and that's the point you kind of want to stop at. So at this point, if you see my score, it's about 22,650. And while I pick the coins up, it goes slowly up, but it still goes up, and I feel at this point I still can manage to garner about 200 points. And at some point, like I said, when you're gonna be picking up your consumables, you'll just see your score stagnate or maybe even lower. And at that point, it's the time to stop. It means that you hit the soft cap, so to say, on how much score you can get by picking up consumables. It's quite a tedious process if you want to do it, well, if you want to kind of take advantage of it in full. But of course, it's worth it because I think it nets you about 15,000 points in total, which is more than Boss Rush and Hush together. So like I said, that's maybe why I felt like this was a good strategy, but obviously I think that we could have done both if maybe we found the chest, or maybe the chest with an item sooner. So that's just how, if you have the blank art and the Yarrow rune, is how you can break the game. And I really like that the Yarrow rune actually came from me knowing that I can enter a cursed room, and that I just kind of took that little risk. It wasn't a big risk, but if you knew that you can take it, it gives you this great advantage. And also the fact that I also had to kind of min-max my trinket gain from when I picked up Petrified Poop and then dropped it and picked up the Counterfeit Penny to get just a bit more coins. And I figured not a lot of people did that. So I'm like I said, I'm kind of glad that it wasn't just about being lucky, like maybe I was in just a bit, but it was also that I made some of these strategic, you could call it strategic, but some of these decisions that maybe someone who hasn't played for long doesn't know about them, or maybe someone just didn't dare to do it because they were too afraid of losing lives or, just dying. What's even better, at this point we get Guppy, so that even before it was ridiculous, but the fact that we have Guppy now just adds, I think, a little extra of absurdity. I think I would take any Guppy item, even though it means we would lose like 100 points. But you can see I just entered the room, use my Tammy's head, and just everything dies immediately. The rooms that actually would hit me if I didn't have Holy Mantle were those Brimstone Ghosts, because they all spawned right on top of me, so that was kind of unfortunate. But still, we did manage to get through it quite fast. You can see just one shot how many tears it produces, and they kind of linger on for a few seconds, so even if you have splitting enemies, it usually ends up killing all of them as well. And the fact that we have the Mind also means that we can optimize our path throughout the level, find all the secret rooms and second secret rooms, so that means we have a huge exploration bonus at the end. So this is Dark Room, and I don't think Dark Room was ever easier. Like any room combination or any room permutation is just not a problem for us because enemies just end up dying. I actually even got money equals power there. I didn't pick it up because, having 4 extra damage won't make too big of a difference. But as it turned out, things went well. You can see the lamp dying in just half a second here. And that's actually it for this run. I actually just go back to pick up 2 more bombs, so I would end up at 99 bombs. It was actually like a 20 score plus net positive, so it wasn't too bad of a decision to go back. But yeah, this is what happens. We just finished in 10th. And there were actually, I think, 6 cheaters before me. So if you go into Gridbot, where the cheaters are weeded out, I'm 4th now. But you can see, the exploration bonus is very high. The swag bonus is also very high. We killed the lamp, so we got that bonus. And you can see our item penalty is 3,200, which is just ridiculous. And of course our time penalty as well, because we played this run for 52 minutes. With that said, this is a very fun run. I wish there were more of those. I just think that it really brings out a lot of good in the players, and you can just see how different players approach this, because it's non-standard, and that's what I really like about it, that it was non-standard. And then we had this special daily, which allowed us to kind of get it out of our system. I like it how it's so running that we actually managed to break the run on this daily, which looked like it would be very bad. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you next time.